Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're focusing on a houseplant that isn't just, a basic piece of greenery. It's practically a living, breathing work of art. We're talking about the incredible Philodendron Brasil. If you're looking for that lush, tropical jungle vibe, but you want something with a bit more artistic flair than your standard green foliage, you are in exactly the right place. This plant is a fantastic, highly communicative artist's canvas. And by the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly how to master its care, no matter your current experience level. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll meet the Brasil. Second, mastering light and water. Third, perfecting soil and environment. Fourth, pruning and propagation. And finally, troubleshooting and pro tips.
Section 1. Meet the Brasil, the communicative canvas.
So this isn't just your run-of-the-mill vine. It actually has a pretty fascinating backstory and a highly communicative personality that makes it the absolute perfect companion for developing your own plant intuition. To really get this plant, we have to travel back to 1991. The Philodendron Brasil wasn't whipped up in some high-tech lab. It was actually discovered as a totally natural mutation in a greenhouse in Holambra, Brazil. And because it's a mutation, every single leaf that unfurls is a completely unique canvas. You get these incredible, unpredictable splashes of lime, cream, and deep emerald green. It literally looks like someone took a paintbrush to a standard heartleaf philodendron.
But, that beautiful paintbrush effects actually comes with a biological catch. It's called variegation. Variegation is just a genetic mutation where areas of the leaf lack chlorophyll, which is the green stuff that makes food for the plant. So those stunning lime and yellow stripes, they're essentially energy freeloaders. They look absolutely incredible, but they don't pull their weight when it comes to photosynthesizing. And this establishes exactly why the Brasil has such specific lighting needs compared to a solid green plant.
Section 2. Mastering light and water, the non-negotiables.
If you want to keep your plant thriving and keep those freeloader variegated stripes looking super bright, getting your light right is completely non-negotiable. To compensate for those non-producing colorful areas, your Brasil needs bright, indirect light. Specifically, you're going to want to aim for 10,000 to 20,000 lux. And hey, you can actually measure this using a free light meter app right on your smartphone. The sweet spot is placing your plant within about 3 to 5 feet of an east or west facing window. A little gentle morning sun is fantastic, but you really must avoid hot, direct afternoon rays, or those beautiful yellow parts, which lack protective pigments, will scorch right up and turn papery. All right, let's talk watering, because this builds right into keeping the roots healthy. We're looking at the soak and dry method versus frequent sipping. Like most aroids, the Brasil is super susceptible to root rot if it just sits in wet soil all the time. You should only water when the top 50 to 75% of the soil is dry to the touch. But when you do water it, don't just give it a little sip. You need to soak it completely until water flows right out of the drainage holes. This flushing action actually mimics a tropical downpour. It ensures every single root gets a drink, and it washes out any built-up salts from tap water and fertilizers. And guys, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why I call the Brasil a communicative plant. If you aren't quite sure if it's time to water, just look for the Philodendron Curl. When this plant is thirsty, it literally tells you by drooping and curling its leaves inward into a little concave shape. This is simply a loss of turgor pressure, meaning the internal water pressure in the plant cells has dropped. Just give it a deep soak and I promise you it will perk right back up within hours. It's an amazing built-in visual cue. Section 3. Perfecting soil and environment, the optimal setup. Now, what's really interesting about moving this plant from just surviving to truly thriving is what goes on beneath the surface. The Brasil is a tropical hemiepiphyte, which means in the wild it actually grows up the sides of trees and in loose leaf litter, definitely not in dense ground dirt. Its roots need oxygen just as much as they need water, so dense potting soil will just suffocate it. So we construct a DIY chunky aroid mix. You want 40% potting soil for baseline moisture, 30% orchid bark to create these nice large air pockets, 20% perlite for aeration, and 10% worm castings for super gentle feed. This precise, fast-draining recipe practically eliminates the risk of root rot by delivering crucial oxygen right to the root system. With great soil comes great growth, and let me tell you, the Brasil is a really vigorous grower. It's capable of shooting out 2 to 3 feet of new vines per year. To fuel all that action, utilize what we call the weekly feeding method. Instead of hitting the plant with a massive, heavy dose of fertilizer once a month, you just mix a balanced liquid fertilizer at 1/4 strength and use it every single time you water during the active growing seasons of spring and summer. It gives the plant this steady, consistent stream of nutrients without any risk of chemical burn. as it grows, you actually get a choice to make about its form. See, in the wild, this plant climbs trees. When we keep it in a hanging basket at home and just let the vines dangle, the plant stays in its juvenile form, giving you those smaller 3 to 4 inch heart-shaped leaves. But if you provide it with vertical support, like a moss pole, it undergoes a total metamorphosis. The stems get woody and the leaves can mature to a massive 12 inches wide. So it's entirely up to your personal aesthetic preference.
Section 4, Pruning and Propagation, Expert Level.
So, are you ready to graduate to expert status? Before we start multiplying your collection, we absolutely have to address an alarming question that plagues so many owners. Why is my beautifully variegated plant suddenly pushing out completely solid dark green leaves? Well, the answer is reversion. Remember how we said the plant is constantly trying to fix its mutation to be more efficient? If your Brazil isn't getting enough light, it honestly kind of panics and produces solid green leaves to maximize photosynthesis. So the absolute strict rule here is this: if you see solid green vines, your plant is screaming for more light. You must immediately prune that solid green vine all the way back to the last variegated leaf and then move the pot to a brighter location. If you don't do this, that really vigorous green growth will just take over and outcompete the variegated parts permanently.
But hey, when you do prune, definitely do not throw those cuttings away. The Brazil is ridiculously easy to clone through water propagation. First, just find a vine with a little brown bump on it. That's an aerial root node. Cut a segment, leaving just one leaf and one node. Then submerge only the node in a glass of water, making sure to keep the leaf dry so it doesn't rot. In about 10 to 14 days, roots are going to appear. Once they're a couple of inches long, you can plant them right back into the top of the mother pot to make the whole thing incredibly full and bushy.
Now, if cutting your plant makes you a little nervous, try the expert level bobby pin method. You literally don't even need scissors. Just loop a really long vine back up to the top of the soil. Find a node and use a standard bobby pin or a paper clip to pin it firmly against the moist dirt. It will root directly into the pot while it's still safely attached to the mother plant. Once it's rooted in there, you can snip the connecting vine or just leave it for a beautifully dense, layered look. Section 5. Troubleshooting and Pro Tips. Look, even the best plant parents run into a few bugs eventually, or want the inside scoop on styling. If you see bugs, please don't panic. Here are the 3 usual suspects and your exact actionable fixes. Fungus gnats, they absolutely love wet soil. Dry out your potting mix and treat it with mosquito bits. What about little white cottony fluff in the leaf crevices? Those are mealybugs. Just dip a Q-tip in 70% isopropyl alcohol and dab them right off. And finally, thrips. These are tiny yellow or black slivers that cause silver damage patches. They're pretty much the worst enemy. Quarantine the plant immediately and treat thoroughly with a spinosad spray. Want a genius hack to avoid stuff like fungus gnats entirely by never overwatering again? Enter the chopstick check. It's so simple. Just insert a raw wooden takeout chopstick deep into the soil and leave it there for about 10 minutes. Pull it out. If the wood is dark and damp, do not water. It takes the guesswork completely out of the equation, and bonus, you don't even get your fingers muddy. Okay, a super quick botanical pro tip for you. People mix up the Brazil and the standard pothos all the time. The absolute easiest way to tell them apart is to look for a cataphyll. A cataphyll is just the protective botanical sheath that surrounds a brand new leaf. As the philodendron leaf unfurls, this little sheath dries up and falls off. A pothos simply doesn't have these. Their leaves unfurl directly from the vine itself. And speaking of the pothos, here is a massive styling secret to make your plant room really pop. Try placing your Philodendron Brasil right next to a neon pothos. The electric, solid yellow of the neon pothos perfectly highlights and draws the eye right to that irregular painted lime stripe running down the center of your Brazil's leaves. It creates an incredibly striking, high-contrast visual display. So, we've covered the lighting rules, the chunky soil mechanics, the watering cues, and all the pruning secrets. The Philodendron Brasil is such a cool plant. It literally talks to you, it forgives your mistakes, and it rewards your good habits with these stunning strokes of vibrant color. So my final question for you is, what will your artist canvas look like once you apply these techniques and truly master its care? Cultivate your plant intuition, give it a try, and watch your indoor jungle absolutely transform. Thanks for joining us on this explainer, and happy growing.